Team Canada wins gold. Stick around. This is going to be a good one. The Leafs cast is back.
Up with it again. He's on the ice with Iginla. Iginla. Sidney Crosby. The golden goal.
What do you know about that, Rye? What do you know about that, Ryan?
All I know is that call already sounds outdated. Now we need to pick a whole new intro with the new call. The new call is actually kind of lame. I like the old call better.
Not quite as iconic, but man, recency bias. That was a ridiculous game. Like so tight the whole time. Overtime was ridiculous. I don't even know where to start. You want to start with McDavid? Or do you want to start with apologies to Jordan Binnington, who was insanely clutch this game?
Let's start with an introduction. The Leafs cast is back. Normally talking about the Maple Leafs, here to talk about the Team Canada 3-2 overtime victory to defeat the United States in the Four Nations frenzy. Anyway,
Face off, good try.
I can't keep up. Stephen Douglas joined by Tim and Ryan Allison, Funky Uncle Dave on the buttons, and yeah, what a game! I mean, I guess to set the stage, I can't think of a more anticipated game that, I don't know, in NHL history, I suppose, just in terms of the tension between the nations. Obviously, Canada coming off of the loss to the USA in the Saturday night game, and just the amount of days that we had in between. Coming as a Canadian living here in the US, the amount of talk about this game the last week has been awesome to be a part of. Well, not always awesome because I'm getting roasted quite a bit. Now I get to do the roasting. But, I mean, I don't know. The hype was insane. I'm sure the numbers for this game are going to be insane. And it absolutely delivered, like Tim said. A fantastic game, start to finish. Couldn't have asked for more.
Yeah, this tournament's had like so much drama, like with the loss on Saturday and with the injuries going back and forth, like who's going to be in, who's out. Like, it's just definitely set the stage, and we're not going to get too much into the politics of everything, but literally everyone was in on this game.
Yeah, it definitely felt like there was a lot riding on it. I don't know, maybe it's just because it's been so long since this happened, and maybe it's just this is the way it is every time, and we forget because it's been so long. Like, it's Canada-US. It is a big deal every time they play, whether it's men's hockey or women's hockey or juniors or, anything. Like, it's always a big time atmosphere. But you don't get better than overtime. Man, that was so fun. Just all game, it was so stressful. When US took the lead, my heart just sunk right into my stomach. It's just, now we have to score a goal against Hellebuck. But top down, we played a really good game. US played arguably an even better game, but we, as Canada usually does, we had all the winners on our team, and Connor McDavid, the torch has been passed.
Well, we had notable clutch player Mitch Marner showing up in the big moments like he always wait. This is the first time. This is the sign. It's a new Leafs team.
Yeah, my eyes were glued on him anytime he was on the ice. Obviously, Mitch starts the game on the third line in this kind of new spot along Brandon Hagel and oh my gosh, Cirelli. And didn't stay there. I mean, he though. When USA was up 2-1, Mitch Marner with a big time assist to Sam Bennett. For the game tying goal. And so, I mean, I guess you never know, but like, I don't know that Canada wins this game without Mitch Marner doing what he does tonight, because then going into the end of the third period and into overtime, John Cooper makes a switch and pulls Mark Stone off of that top line and puts Mitch Marner there alongside Connor McDavid and Brandon Point. And I think that was the right call, because, I mean, not to spin this positive podcast too negative, but like, I didn't think Mark Stone had it tonight, and I thought somebody else needed to be up there. And Mitch Marner, who I thought he was dialed in a lot with a lot of the passes that he made tonight, good defensive plays. And then, just he got the puck to Connor McDavid, who I thought was having a really great game. But, there was only so much you can do, and it's just the one Connor McDavid, and he's got four guys around him. He needed somebody else to feather that pass to him to score. And, I mean, if you're the U.S., I don't know. They got like 15 coaches on their staff. Whose decision was it to leave the best player on God's earth in the slot alone? I don't know. Not a great call.
Way alone. There was no one remotely close to him.
And, Connor McDavid is not afraid to score on Hellebuck. Connor on Connor crime.
That's right.
International Connor on Connor crime.
Sticking on Marner, it was kind of interesting over the last few days because they had a few days off between when the games ended and this championship game, and of course Toronto media loves to focus on Mitch Marner, and I heard multiple sources saying that Marner was miscast originally playing with Connor McDavid, and that was a mistake, and now he's where he belongs, like a little further down the lineup with Hagel and Cirelli. And I remember thinking, what are you talking about? It was perfect casting putting Marner with Connor McDavid. It's the dream combination, the same reason why Marner Matthews works. Like, it should work with Connor McDavid, and for some reason it didn't earlier in the tournament. But Marner brought it tonight. I agree, Steven. I thought he was actually one of our better players tonight. He seemed to be able to find room where there wasn't any room, and that's something that he's usually struggled with in the playoffs for the Leafs. And him and McDavid, him and Bennett, and then him and McDavid, like, they were just able to connect. And I agree. I don't think Canada would have won if Mitch Marner wasn't there, which he went to said the last 3 games. So I'm glad to see at least one of our Maple Leaf boys delivered when it counted.
And now, I mean, we could talk about Austin Matthews a bit, but he had a couple grade A chances, like Binnington, huge saves on the blocker. Mm-hmm. Definitely was worried about Matthews. Is kind of talking out of like, oh, he's injured something. Is it re-aggravated his other injury that like has kind of been bothering him all year? But didn't really get any more info there. But Matthews, I'd say, had a good game. Definitely not the best player on Team USA tonight or the most noticeable, but he easily could have won it in overtime with some of the chances that he got.
I mean, I would argue offensively he might have been the U.S.'s most dangerous player. Maybe. I mean, I think he had ended it with 2 assists in the night.
It's pretty hard to steal that one away from Brady Tkachuk. I think he got larceny. You were talking about larceny in overtime. Jordan Binnington, holy cow, on Brady Tkachuk. Like, he could have had a hattie tonight.
We should get to Jordan Binnington, but yeah, big night for the Leafs cast, because coming off of that Saturday night pod, we're like, man, Canada's like losing. All the Maple Leafs in the tournament don't have any goals except for Mitch has one, and now Canada's won, and all the Leafs were looking pretty good, and yeah, we're feeling great. But I think everybody on this podcast owes Jordan Binnington a sincere apology. Because he came out tonight and obviously 2 goals go in. They were, greasy, whacking the puck type goals. Like, I'm not going to say that they're completely unsavable, but I'm not going to blame Jordan Binnington for either one of those. And he stood up tall in this game with countless, like, big time saves. And I just couldn't help but like looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, like, how did I not see what John Cooper was thinking, where he wanted a big time Game 7 type goalie in this situation? And maybe getting there was a little funky, but he got better as every game went on, and he had his best game tonight, and he was the best goalie on the ice tonight.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, Hellebuck also played really well, but Binnington, like, there were multiple times this game where the U.S. was like be pushing hard, or they come with a breakaway, and it's just like, we needed that save. So like, when the game is so tight and every goal could be the last, could be the game breaker, he came up big when Canada was lacking. And like, there was a time where like the first half of the third period where it looked like Canada had no gas left in the tank, and the USA was pushing again and again and again. I was starting to lose faith, but you weather the storm, you hang in there, make it to overtime, and it was fun to see him play there. I kind of laugh that he plays his best hockey in TD Garden there, as the St. Louis Blues defeated the Boston Bruins a few years ago to win their Stanley Cup. But Jordan Binnington, definitely one of the stars. We
kind of knew what Binnington was even coming into it. Like, he's not like Connor Hellebuck will put a performance up like that just every single night. Like that's why guys like that are the best in the league. Jordan Binnington can put a performance like that. He did that year where he took the Blues all the way to the Cup final and dominated Game 7 and won. But the ugly side of Binnington is that he's just not always there, and sometimes he just has an off night or just an off moment of a night, and all of a sudden you got some bad goals going in. And we saw that 3 times in a row going into the game tonight, where just like, that's not the Jordan Binnington we saw tonight was not the Jordan Binnington we saw for the rest of this tournament. And like, I still don't think that I'm wrong in thinking that Cooper was crazy for putting Binnington in again and again and again after the performances that he had. But the reason why you put him in is because you know he can deliver that. Like, I don't know if we were winning that game if Hill was in net. Like, I mean, maybe like Hill won a Stanley Cup himself. Like, he's a really good goaltender, but those were unbelievable saves that Binnington was made. And like all the things that they were saying about Binnington, that this is the guy who will get it done in a Game 7, you know, like when the chips are down, like it's basically what this last game was, championship game. And he delivered. He made us all look silly with our concern because I thought he was the best player on the ice tonight. He was top tier.
I wouldn't disagree, but the one other guy we haven't talked to, who is the difference between what happened on Saturday and what was tonight, is defenseman Cale Makar. That guy is so talented, offensive, defensively. Like, more, I would say that this is maybe the most impressive showing I saw from him. Like, similar to some games where every time McDavid has the puck, you notice him. I felt like every time Makar was on the ice, you knew he was there, because like he would just make that extra play, make the tape to tape pass, skate it up the ice when it was needed, look for the space. But very, very impressive showing from Cale Makar.
I remember like on the broadcast they referenced quite a bit how in some of these situations with these ultra superstar players and these like crazy lineup, especially like on the power play, somebody needs to be selfish and actually take the shot, you know, because there's always going to be that like other excellent option. I felt like Cale Makar was the selfish man all night, and that's why he was my pick when we were texting, you know, who's going to be the OT guy. I was like, I think it's going to be Cale Makar, because even at the end of that third period, he wanted it all night. Obviously he didn't get it. It was fitting that it was Connor McDavid, but yeah, Cale Makar, I don't know, a huge difference maker, night and day between what happened on Saturday and tonight. So Canada's got the best forward in the world, man. They've got the best defenseman in the world. You know what? They got the best goalie in the world. Jordan Binnington, new best goalie in the world. Who says no? Who says no, man?
I was actually thinking about that, about how we have the best, like he was by far the best defenseman in the game tonight. And I was thinking about the lack of Quinn Hughes, because there was all that drama leading into tonight of, you know, is he coming? Is he not coming? And what the heck are the Americans doing with what they're saying? And he ended up not being able to come because I guess I don't know, their rules that they made up didn't let him come and play. Or maybe he's still injured.
He wasn't healthy.
All right, then he's still injured, I guess. But either way, it made me think, because I agree, that was just the biggest difference. He was phenomenal out there. Every shift,
yeah,
he was more noticeable than McKinnon or McDavid, which is amazing. Like, that is pretty impressive company to have your name in. And I was thinking, like, man, like, imagine if instead of us getting Cale Makar, it was the United States getting their version of Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes. And it's going to be real interesting next year when we do this whole thing again at the Olympics. Like, I don't know, maybe other people will or won't be healthy. But if the U.S. is able to have that same roster plus a Cale Makar back there, right, plus Quinn Hughes, man, that is scary stuff.
Hey, Canada might have Connor Bedard and Macklin Celebrini and Adam Fantilli, right. And like, I just heard about some kid in the OHL who's like, John Tavares, Jace Tavares. How old is Jace these days? Can we get him?
Not drafted yet.
Oh, okay. We're still working on that. It's gonna, I mean, it is like, this is the first of what will be every 2 years, you know, the deciding factor of who owns hockey, really, because we're going to be seeing this more and more often. And I mean, I hope Canada wins every single time, but we don't know it, right? Because like, this is the strongest the U.S. has ever been. I think pretty much everybody watching these games recognizes that this is the strongest that the U.S.'s team has ever been in relation to Canada. And yeah, they are probably just going to keep getting better as well. And so these games are just going to get even more fun. And I'm really not looking forward, by the way, to going back to having to watch actual third line grinders and I don't know, Mikhail Grabovski and like you're gonna have to see Ryan Reeves again.
Mikhail Grabovski.
For check and paycheck.
No, Nikita Grabenkin, he's fine. I'm fine with I hope he enjoyed the game, Grabenkin. I hope you're watching this. Yeah. Just so fun.
I was gonna say, you mentioned the power play earlier, Steven. So this game, one power play all game, went to Canada, had the power play. Canada took no penalties all game. What are your guys' thoughts on that on the line, too many men, no call that happened in overtime?
Well, what I don't understand is, like, I don't think at any point of it Canada actually touched the puck. And you're allowed to put as many guys over the boards as you want to while you're not controlling the puck. So actually, I don't know, because they're not going to call the penalty until you touch it. So anyway, like I'm actually not too upset about the too many men call, but I do think in general over this tournament and especially in this game, they intentionally didn't call much. Like there was multiple times where I saw, the Canadians getting away with obvious trips or blatant cross checks or too many men or whatever. And the same thing on the American side or the Sweden or Finnish side. Like, I just don't think that they called much. And I think that was an intentional choice, knowing the talent that's out there on the ice, that if they call a penalty, it's just going to be a goal. And the last thing they want is the NHL screwed up and called way too many penalties, and then they've ruined the game. Like, how sucky would have that been if in overtime they called a too many men penalty and that's what ended it? Like, what an anticlimactic finish.
Well, definitely anticlimactic. I do agree though. Like, I think if one of the Team Canada players had touched it as they were going through with their line change, then that would be a different story.
Yes.
But the fact that it sailed on through and it didn't impact the play, my very unbiased opinion, I think they made the right call. But it was nice. Like, the game had such great flow and pacing back and forth and so much action. Maybe the players just knew where to draw the line. And
I thought though, as we were going into that third period tied, it was 10 minutes to go. Young David was over at my house and I was just like, you can't take a penalty here. Like that. It just felt like, even though Canada's PK has been fine, I don't know that they really have been in that situation more than maybe twice the whole series though. It was just I don't know. It felt like they were going to have a tough time. The US was getting those cross ice passes going and it was going to happen. So I felt like that was really a key to the game. And honestly, I mean, on that subject, last time when we potted about this game and we're like, what is the physicality level going to be like? I mean, it was night and day compared to that last one. When you think about even just obviously there was no fights tonight, but even after, a goalie makes a save, you've got a crowd in front of the goaltender. There's not really much shoving other than maybe 2 or 3 times in the entire game. Really felt like everybody was so dialed because nobody wanted to take that, roughing penalty or, some sort of an instigator. There was maybe a couple of, I guess we'll call them dust-ups. Austin Matthews actually chucking Brad Marchand one time. That was,
that's
Ryan
right.
was fine with that. But
I think that I was fine with that. I think that the biggest difference was Canada didn't engage as much as they did in the last game. I still saw the U.S. finishing every check and trying to start some scrums, especially Brady Tkachuk, the butthead. I hate that guy, but he was all over it, trying to get anything going. The number of times I saw him give Cale Makar a pop in the chops, I don't know, Cale Makar just laughs him off every time.
He does, yeah.
But Canada just kind of I don't know, it felt like they had a whole team of John Tavares out there. Every time John Tavares just goes out and just takes it and just skates away and does his thing, and it's all business. And it felt like that's what all Canada was. They weren't going to engage. They were just going to obviously if there's a dirty hit or something, they probably would have stood up, but they weren't prepared, or it wasn't their plan to play the same game that the US dictated on Saturday. They had their own game plan. They just wanted to play hockey and get it done. And they did get it done.
I wonder if some of that had to do with who the vocal leaders on that team were. Obviously you got Crosby's wearing the C. Drew Doughty comes in. He's one of the most veteran guys, on the team. And those are two guys who that's not really their game. I mean, same honestly with McDavid and McKinnon and up and down. And so maybe the last time felt like Canada fell into the US's game, didn't happen this time. And honestly, I thought the pace of play actually resulted in that. I thought the game was a little slower and a lot more controlled this time than the last time around. And I think part of that's just because, I mean, after all those fights and just what was occurring, everybody was just probably a little jumpy and skating even a little faster, maybe faster than they needed to be, and mishandling some pucks. And it was Canada's game. They win. It's not like they won, running away, right? I mean, 3-2, like US is, gosh, right there on their heels. But okay, I want to know from you guys, who was your favorite player in this tournament for Team Canada to watch, and why? Who's somebody that stood out to you as just I don't know, I'm a big fan of this guy now, or I learned something new about somebody.
I mean, I don't know how much new it is, but I really enjoyed Nathan MacKinnon this tournament. He just seemed to, similar to McDavid as far as every time he has the puck, he's making something happen. But he just seemed to have so much energy out there, be involved in every play. But he's someone who impressed me.
Tournament MVP, right? I think that's what they gave him after the game. 5 goals in 4 games, and really the only guy in the tournament with I think more than 2. Right, so you think about it, even though they weren't all game winners, so maybe not every single one of them was quite as memorable as the McDavid goal or that Marner goal from Game 1. I think that's a great pick. I'd probably say Crosby. I think it just I never cry. Kind of makes me want to cry seeing him hold up the trophy at the end of the game. The trophy, I don't even know what it is. Whatever, seeing him hold up that piece of metal, just because what I think. The other guys on the team, after McDavid won, I'm watching the U.S. broadcast, and he's talking about obviously they want to win it for their country, but it means so much to the guys in the room, is what McDavid's talking about, and that's who they're also doing this for. And I was so thrilled to watch Crosby, and it felt like all the guys kind of wanted to play. They wanted Crosby to see him have a good game and stuff, and it was cool. So even though Crosby maybe not quite as impactful in this game with I don't know, a bunch of key plays or something like that, just felt like he was the perfect captain, and I hope he's there at the Olympics in 2 years and that he's the captain again. And I don't know, it's just cool. He's our generation's Team Canada captain, right? So it was really cool to see him get that win.
I mean, I hate to just pick the same guy, but mine is also Sidney Crosby. It's just the correct answer. I mean, you can go other ways. Yeah, I if anything, the runner-up was going to be Cale Makar, because tonight especially, he was just wild to watch. But I think for Sidney Crosby, what made it so special is I wasn't expecting him to be as impactful or as good as he was in this tournament. It just felt like going into it, it's we're going to win because we have Nathan MacKinnon and Connor McDavid, and then supporting them, we have Mitch Marner and Cale Makar's out there. And I almost forgot about Sidney Crosby because he's a senior citizen now. He's not a young guy. He's well past his prime. And I just thought he'd be more of a supporting role in this tournament. And I thought he could have got the tournament MVP over Nathan MacKinnon. I thought he was equally as deserving as him, which is crazy. He's still doing it at that level. And every time I hear the crowds chanting Crosby, it makes you smile. It makes you feel warm inside. So for me, it is also Sidney Crosby. It's fun watching him win yet again. It never gets old.
Never gets old. If we're talking most unexpected performance though, Sam Bennett.
Ooh,
it pains me to even speak his name as a Canadian. As that was a tough Leaf series that we faced him, but I was impressed by Sam Bennett and his efforts in obviously got the huge goal, assisted by Mitch Marner, but the physicality that he brought, and I consider him a fourth liner. I still think that there's at least 5 different players you could put on the team instead of him, but he definitely fit the part of being on Team Canada, definitely played his role well. And I would say that was, I think this game, looking at the box score, he had 6 shots on net this game.
It's amazing what you could do when you're not busy suplexing the rookies on the other team.
I know. What a fun. respect him, but like
he is the absolute worst. He's just as bad as Brad Marchand. I hate that guy, but he did have a really effective tournament and a really effective game tonight. I will give him that. But now that it's over, I hate him again. I hate that guy.
Yeah, we can be done. Also, maybe it's just because they won in it, but I do want to walk back any negative things I said about the jersey. I think we talked about the jersey after like game 1's pod or something like that, but pretty sick tarp.
Yeah, it's still a little stripy.
Might have to get one of those. A Mitch Marner.
My most surprising player was probably Taves, and maybe it's just because he was playing with Cale Makar. I just didn't know that he was at that level. I thought it was like Makar drives the bus and Taves is along for the ride. No, he's right up there. Like, he made some real impressive plays, and he was, I think, a big part of shutting down that American offense. So he was, to me, the big surprise.
Mine's gonna be Binnington for surprise. I was like,
on the good and the bad.
Well, because I remember, I think it was after maybe game 1 or something, Tim likened his performance to the vibes he would get from Michael Hutchinson back in the day. And for Leafs cast fans unfamiliar, or non-Leafs fans, whatever, people who didn't survive the Michael Hutchinson era, he was a backup goalie for the Leafs who, you can fact check me, every single shot went in the net. Every single one. If the opposition got 6 shots on goal in game, it was 6 goals. And after that first game, I had that same feeling. I remember, like, Dave, you're up here and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like every single shot you were worried it was going to go in just because like you had a couple of these fluky ones. But then, man, after whatever, say 15 minutes of this game, those like 6 shots when like camera shots when, the goalie makes like a nice glove save and then they zoom in on his eyes, and seeing how dialed and how I felt this confidence, like Jordan Binnington's not going to give up this game for us. And so we went into overtime and my heart was racing, but maybe like 30 BPM slower than it usually would be in a situation like that, because I knew that it wasn't going to be on Jordan Binnington that we lose this game, because he was so dialed. Those glove saves, the pad stops, point blank saves. I mean, the guy was like 8 feet out of the blue paint, by the way, but like still making these stops. And so that was just really fun. And I just think,
He made a big blocker save against Austin Matthews late in the third period. And I remember I was over at Tim's watching the game. I jumped up and got 3 inches from the 85, and I'm pointing right at Binnington. And I just said, we will not lose. Like, we're not going to lose with this guy in net. He will not let another goal in. And he did. He was dialed in. It was very fun watching it, especially for the expectations that we had for him going into the game. I before the game, I said, we're either going to lose because of Jordan Binnington or we're going to win because of Sidney Crosby, and we did not lose because of Jordan Binnington. That's for sure.
It might be a bit of like just that underdog mentality too, where like Jordan Binnington, going into this, right, was like just not considered the best goalie in the tournament, right? And so like but he's our guy, right? He may not have been the best guy at the time, but he's our guy because he's Canada's guy, and he got it done. So sick.
I love it. Man, I love winning.
I know, man. Like, this game, hype-wise, was, for me at least, like on par with a like Leafs Game 7 type of energy and nervousness. But I had a different confidence because you've got Sidney Crosby on your side. So I guess I'm going to start liking Leafs hockey a lot more if we can trade for that guy. Honestly,
we just had so many moments where it's like, oh, every like playoff win has always tainted by the eventual disappointment. And now it's like, we have this for at least next year.
Well, at the end of the day, we had 3 Maple Leaf players who were in the tournament. We had Nylander and Matthews and Marner, and 2 of those guys were in this game, and only one of them got to win. And Marner was even on the ice. He dealt the biscuit to Connor McDavid to seal it home, and he got another assist. Like, he had a really big game. Do you guys think that this is going to mean anything? Do you think that this is Mitch Marner finally taking the step to become playoff Mitch, or is this just like, it's a different kind of tournament, he has different line mates, he's against Austin Matthews? Like, is it just going to go back to regular non-playoff Mitch once we get there?
I'm going to double down. Leafs need to bring McDavid home. Unlock Mitch.
Oh wait, and they play together still?
Yeah, of course.
So this scenario, we re-signed Mitch Marner to a $14 million contract this offseason.
No,
and then
15 million. After this tournament, it's gone up to 15.
And then signed McDavid for $22 million, and we put them on the same line. I mean, there's worse problems to have. I'm going to be fine if in 2 years that's what we're potting about. Ryan's like, split them up. Tim's like, keep them together.
90 goals.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he's unreal. I'm so glad he was the one that got the goal, because like felt like the Mark Stone thinks it felt like was slowing down his line a little bit. It felt like he had to do a lot of this stuff by himself. Just because it felt like Braden Point was just getting his butt whooped all night. And the best player scored the goal. It was sick. Bring him home. Why not? I heard the narrative a couple times that like some of these guys, like say it's Drew Doughty or it's Sidney Crosby, some of these guys that are on like non-cup contending teams this season who are like planning on staying put, like specifically Crosby though, right? Like, is he after this tournament going to get a taste for like, you know what, I want to get back into some of these big games? Because like even I was listening to Drew Doughty talk about, he's like, I haven't played in like a big game like this in like 10 years, you know? So you wonder. I guess so, Tim, to answer like your first actual question, like I am excited to see some of like these guys get back on the Leafs, and even just like being around these other superstars for the last 2 weeks, like what things did they pick up? And like, you know, all these guys are students of the game and how to get better. And
that's what makes me nervous. Like, what things did Austin Matthews pick up from that scumbag of an organization known as the United States of America? Like, I don't want him coming back as the third Tkachuk brother. No, thank you.
He's been home too long, you say?
Yes. Get him back up north where we can re-polite him.
Austin Matthews has been outside of Canada for like 3 days, and Ryan's like, the U.S. has tainted him. The U.S. has tainted him.
It's
Give
too
me a
much.
break.
No one can last that long. Look at what it's done to little Davey.
What do you think about the decision by Team U.S., by the way, to, you know, Matthew Tkachuk doesn't play the entire third period, and like I think he only had like six something minutes of ice time in the game. Obviously was banged up. Didn't play, you know, the final game, didn't play the end of the first game against Canada. And I get it that he's like their energy man and stuff, but it's not like they had some jabroni Mikhail Grabovski waiting behind him to, I don't even know who was the forward that sat out tonight for US. I don't know, but it's like they got a good player that could have played instead and maybe helped the team out a lot more, other than a, you know, groin injured Matthew Tkachuk. I wonder if they'll come to regret that decision.
I think it was Kyle Connor
Which is wild. That's like a 40-goal scorer that they just left on the side. But all the same,
one more goal.
I feel like Matthew Tkachuk, I don't know, maybe it looks like Matthew Tkachuk was the actual captain of that team. That's what it kind of felt like. It felt like it was the Tkachuk's team and Matthews was along for the ride. It didn't feel like it was Matthews' team. And it just felt like it's almost like you just couldn't take him out for that reason. Like, he means too much. He's too much on the bench. Like, I don't know what it is. Even though he couldn't play, maybe they thought he'd be able to play more and he re-aggravated the injury or something. But I think that he was too ingrained in what the U.S. hockey was all about, especially the way that the last game started, right? Like, he got that all going with that first fight against Hagel. And I just don't think there was any way you were taking him out.
I don't know. Might be a little soft. I mean, I've seen Jack Campbell play an entire game with a torn groin.
Well, he's not Canadian, so that has something to do with
Jack Campbell. Oh yeah, no. He's Michigan or something like that. Forgot about that. Shout out Jack Campbell. Hope you're listening. And shout out Mikhail Grabovski. Sorry for dragging your name through the mud. It's good, boys. I've had a lot of fun getting
savor the moment.
Yeah, I've had a lot of fun. I don't know. It's been fun to like have this different change of pace. This is like by far my favorite non-playoff Leafs hockey probably ever. I don't know, since the last Olympics, which feels like it was a million years ago. So it was fun.
The last NHL Olympics.
Yeah, sorry, the last NHL Olympics. I'm not watching Eric Stahl play in Beijing. Just kidding. I was. Oh man. Closing thoughts. Anything else?
It's gonna feel really weird on Saturday to like to step back down to regular season Leafs.
I don't know. I feel like because we played a fair amount of the season here, we're like 50 or whatever games it is, there's 30 games left. Like the trade deadline is coming right around the corner. I feel like we're going to come back down to Leafland here, and I think we're kind of past that like dog days where just like you feel like it's between the middle of the season and the trade deadline is. Like I feel like we're going to come back and it's going to feel intense. The standings are all still so tight. Like everything we're going to be seeing Matthew Tkachuk again and then hating him and such. Like it's all going to be I think it'll be fun going right back into it, and we're going to be in the deep end.
Leafs 3 points back in Florida with 2 games in hand for the lead of the division.
Florida's their whole team's injured now, so we're good.
Leafs haven't lost a game in like 2 weeks. We're doing good, man.
Undefeated.
I think, Saturday night. This is a Leafs podcast, by the way. Anybody listening? This is a Leafs podcast, okay? So get ready for some Alex Steves talk.
There you go.
After the game on Saturday. Yeah, Leafs are back in action Saturday night against Carolina. I don't know where the game is. I don't even know if Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner are going to play. I wouldn't be shocked if they don't. But, we're going to be back to talk about it and the ramp up to the NHL playoffs where the Maple Leafs will win the Stanley Cup. 2 cups for Mitch Marner this year. Oh, what do you think about that?
There you go.
You heard it here first. This is the year.
And then we'll trade for Connor McDavid.
And Jordan Binnington. I want them both. The Richmond Hill boys.
All right.
Okay, that's the end of the podcast. Signing off. Play the anthem, Dave. Feed me that anthem one more time. I want it.